Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khush amdeed, ji ayonu, goeiemorgen, ishbata.
Pakhair agale, ni hao, chune shumme, washmale, ohio, guzaimes, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, suavia, bhalli kare aaya, and thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into PTV World. You're definitely watching World this morning, alongside somebody who happens to be an inspiration for a lot of women and men at the same time, because she never gave up on her education. She always made sure that she's going to continue to work and that she will create a difference which is going to have a positive impact on the lives of people. And she happens to be Ms. Shiza Hashmi. Hello Shiza, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum salam. I'm absolutely great. Thank you so much for the kind words. You know, there are times I feel like whenever I require someone to write my autobiography, I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
Because you're too generous with your words.
Wow, wonderful.
Thank you. But I guess that's the note I'm going to begin the show on.
Yeah.
Where you said, you know, sort of use whatever you have, the knowledge, of course, the education, the good traits, your virtues, characteristics, just to create a good change in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, what's the point of you being here in the world, right?
Yeah.
So I think everyone should do that, definitely.
And I, ladies and gentlemen, happen to be Shahzad Hasan Khan. Thank you very much for tuning in. And we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. So going back to where we were actually talking about how Shiza is actually trying to kind of bring about a positive change in people. So please, Shiza, please continue.
Right. So, well, I don't know if I'm trying or not, but thank you for noticing if I am.
Yeah.
But this is something, Shahzad, you and I talk about so many times, and in all honesty, of course, you know, you meet people like, for example, me seeing you and my other co-workers and guests every day as well. You learn or observe them, and the best things from their personality, you sort of pick up on them as well.
Yeah, that's
so I have to definitely say that a lot of my positive attributes are definitely coming in, inspired rather from you as well.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Okay, so
I think that's a good news. But you know, okay, since we are talking about this, I think what we really need to do is to kind of let us tell each other that one good trait we have picked up from each other. All right, so you go first because you said it.
Yes.
So you go first.
All right. On top of my head, I think I have to say that you wouldn't backbite. So what's right is right.
Yeah.
And if someone is doing it in a group even, you would tell them, you know what, let's say this in front of the person. So that I really admire and something I want to pick up on.
Wow.
And I hope I do.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. And, you know, which is why, Shiza, I think that we have come this far, alhamdulillah. You know, it's been more than 3 years that we've been doing the show as well. And ladies and gentlemen, these are the things which will actually help you in real time and in real life as well. And I think that, you know, it will be 100% apt to say that, you know, that the same is the behavior which I've always observed, which is as well that even if I am going to say that, hey, you know what, let's talk about it in front of the people who've actually said it. So, you know, she'll always be like, yeah, hey, why not? And I think that she will actually do it before me saying even that, hey, you know what, that we really need
Sometimes
to do that.
it's a challenge.
No, so I think it's great. It is a challenge, but there's just one simple thing, and that is that with work colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, you really need to get rid of all of those misconceptions,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
But once you get rid of these misconceptions, once again, I'm saying that you have to do it with your colleagues so that there's no misconception. But other than that, you know, for all of those people who think or they say, and you know, we might have even heard it, मैं तो जो बात होती है मुंह पे कह देता हूँ, you know, or whatever I have to say, I just say it on somebody's face, you know. I don't think that it's a very good trait because you really do not want to hurt people or kind of hurt their sentiment as well. So please, you know, if it's like a family matter or something, I think you can be forgiving and you can let it go and not even talk about it in front of that person or even in public, so that the other person is not embarrassed.
Absolutely. You do have the humanitarian right to actually feel good or bad about something that the other person did, but you don't have the right to physically hurt them in any way as well. So, Shahzad, here's the thing. Fog is here, of course, and for all the people traveling as well, it was insane. Just yesterday, my siblings were traveling to Multan, and at a point in the evening, they really had to, you know, think twice of either if they want to complete the journey or they want to come back or not. So that's one thing. But, you know, one would think because of the similar situations happening in winter every year, things might get better. We don't know if they are or not. Particularly about the fog situation, I want to talk in the next segment. But staying on the motorways, a lot of people were actually complaining of a certain kind of a rush hour on the motorway, especially on the toll plazas. Why is that so?
All right, so before we kind of move on to that one, I think I would want to kind of continue with the show with a very good news, I think, for the people of Punjab as well.
This was a good
and
news
we hope
too.
that, yeah, it is a good news, but, you know, we hope that, you know, that other provinces are going to actually follow that. So imagine, ladies and gentlemen, that Punjab government approves Air Rescue Service project. Wow. So imagine that, God forbid, even if it's smoke, even if it's fog, and if you're stuck on motorway or anywhere else in the Punjab region of the country, I think what you're going to do is that you can actually ask for the air rescue service as well, and it's going to be for free.
Brilliant.
It's for all the people who are out there as well, and I think that the Punjab government has really taken it to the next level as well. And this is what, you know, developed countries already have. You know, that's the kind of service which they actually kind of extend to their people. So I think it's great that we are making Pakistan a safer place.
Definitely. I absolutely love the idea. Rescue 1122, I think, is going to be doing it, of course. And Shahzad, to actually imagine, because, and not only in Lahore, to be honest, in so many different cities of Pakistan, I've seen this. Can you imagine or sort of, paint a picture of an ambulance trying to get through the crowds at the time of need?
It's really difficult.
It is definitely difficult. I'm not saying that people are not responsible. I think everyone definitely is trying to give way to the ambulance in respect, but sometimes it's just not possible because of the rush on the roads. I mean, where would you go? So I think this is definitely a brilliant idea.
Moving on to the other one, ladies and gentlemen, where we were talking about, or Shiza was actually talking about how motorways, you know, are such a good way of transport as well. But certainly, you know, in what we have seen is that, you know, that there won't be any entry for any car without the M tag on the car as well. And I've seen a lot of people, you know, kind of stuck on the motorway because they are actually waiting in queues, in long queues, to get the M tag. So if you haven't still gotten the M tag, and if you want to travel on the motorway, please make sure that you get yourself an M tag as well, so that it's more convenient. And imagine, it is convenient, you know, all you have to do is just drive past the toll plaza as well, which I believe is wonderful. So please make sure, just to avoid any sort of inconvenience, that you have an M tag as well. And if you are to leave on motorway or for Lahore, or if you're coming from Lahore to Islamabad or Peshawar or anywhere, make sure that you leave an hour earlier, because that's the time which will be consumed while you'll be standing in the queues to get the M tag.
Yeah, but do it absolutely as soon as possible, because it's so convenient, man. I mean, I really don't like stopping at the toll plazas, you know. I mean, of course, it's definitely for the betterment of the country, but this is still the same. You will be in the tax net still, you will be registered, and you will be legally driving on the motorways, if that's one thing. All right, now, there's a very important sort of a dimension to this conversation as well. You know, traveling inside the country is definitely something nice. And then having an association with your country, an identity, that is, of course, something as well. But there are hundreds of thousands, rather millions of people in the world, even right now, ladies and gentlemen, without an identification in terms of a nationality. You know, different people have different forms of identity. For example, some may say, my gender is my identity, or my religion is my identity. But in the realm of this world, of course, nationality is an identity. Now, particularly talking about refugees or people living in one country trying to find a better life and trying to get into another country, immigrants for that matter, and immigrants who could never make it to the other country, you know, dying with the status of refugee as well. This is what we want to talk about. Not really want to talk about, but sort of address the issue of where to go if you really want to change the quality of your life through immigration, because there are so many scammers out there, there are so many wrongdoers out there who are going to definitely misguide you, exploit you, violate you, and then you'll never get your dream as well. This is the part of the conversation that is really close to my heart, and I want to fix it for the thousands of people out there, because it's happening on a daily basis, Shahzad.
Exactly, and you know, that too coming from somebody who's actually got a dual nationality.
Shahzad, oh.
I think it's brilliant, but you know, we certainly want to focus on that, because obviously people, everybody has got the right to have a quality life as well. But for that, ladies and gentlemen, you really need to build upon opportunities.
Of course.
You really need to create opportunities.
You need to learn.
You need to learn. You need to get into product development. You need to get into the service industry. You need to kind of have a check. You need to kind of have your own research whether what kind of services people might want in near future, or probably, you know, you need to learn or go do some newer courses so that you can do something of your own. Such is an example we have today with us, because there are local entrepreneurs and then there are international entrepreneurs, and this gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, happens to have been working with the top 500 Fortune companies as well. I mean, he's got a marketing agency as well. He's making sure that, you know, a lot of people who actually intend to travel all over the world, that he's going to solve their immigration problems as well. He's big in the international market, which is why, you know, we have him here today to kind of talk about how he built up on all of those opportunities he got, or whether he got an opportunity or he created one for himself. So ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who happens to be an entrepreneur, a motivation speaker, and he is Mr. Fahad Khan. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Assalamu, and thank you so much for the invitation. Really appreciate that.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you. Once again, a person with dual nationality. I think it's wonderful to have you over here, but there's no problem in it. Because in the first place, I think that everybody's got the right to decide whether what they want to do with their life. So, you know, if you wanted to live in Canada, I think that's wonderful. But what I'm trying to establish over here is that how things can be different if you're an entrepreneur and if you're a Canadian national or if you're a Pakistani national. That's something which we really need to kind of divide in between so that people have a better understanding. Now, Fahad, first of all, what is the difference in between a local entrepreneur and an international entrepreneur? And did you create an opportunity for yourself, or you had one and you stuck to it so hard that, you know, it kind of expanded for you?
There's a lot of questions, by the way. First thing I gotta say, when you did your introduction, I thought I was the one who could say in multiple languages, hello. I don't know, you went like 15 languages, hello and thank you.
You can't beat him.
No, I'm gonna do a research on that and practice that. But coming to the question about the opportunities, did we create it ourselves? I always say we are creating opportunities ourselves. It is out there. We just have to have the right exposure and mindset, which opportunity we want to work with. So not everything which looks great is going to be a golden, you know, diamond or sparkling thing. We have to be smart a little bit too and do some research. As you were talking about immigration side, where people are trying to go in the other countries, but there's a legal way, and that's what we recommend always. Go with that, because otherwise you're going to get hit by a lot of scammers, and then you will be upset about time, money, and even if you do get there, you're stuck still.
All right, thank you very much for saying that, you know, that the opportunities are out there. All you need to have is the right exposure, which we will certainly come down to. But imagine that you are a person who's actually got a company, a marketing company with the name of Canada Prime Marketing, and then you have a company where you're making sure that a lot of people are going to go to other countries if they intend to travel or if they intend to settle as well or migrate. Now imagine for a person who actually belonged to Pakistan for the first 16 years of his life and then ended up in Canada, and, you know, ended up having the nationality itself as well. And then when was it for you that you actually decided that, hey, you know what, this is something I can do and I can gain that trust of the people, that even if I'm not from Canada, probably, certainly when you initially started, I can still do it for you. That trust, I think, is the main core of whatever you're doing today.
True. And again, doesn't matter where we come from. I was there when I was 14-year-old, and English was not the very good language for me. I would be talking in an accent.
Likewise for us.
You know,
we're learning every
when
day.
we go there, we're talking in a where people will make fun of us, and it is very discouraging, and it is a cultural shock. It is absolutely coming from Pakistan and going there where you've never traveled. It is two different sides, extremes, right? So how do you adapt to it? It's just, I was very blessed that initially, at a very young age, I got into the sales job. That was one of my exposure. And when you start communicating more and more, anything we want to do, we have to practice, right? I'm not going to learn Mandarin if I just read the book. You have, if you are in that country or if you're speaking constantly, you will learn that. So for me, I had to create some opportunities for myself. I had to step up. Many times you get rejection, but you got to get back up and fight. That's the whole mindset game, and that's what I've been trying to teach to people in Pakistan too. The problems are similar. The problems are in Canada, US, Pakistan, wherever we go. It's how do we fight? How do we build this mind, which is like I say, unstoppable mindset? And it's not a one button, you take a pill and you're unstoppable, or you become to this point where nobody will.
It's not. Oh no.
It's just a journey. You know that, and you will know because you've been in even the news industry. It's not one day. It's a lot of hard work of years of persistence and persistence, and then you break through once.
It is absolutely. And you guys, I think I have to mention over here, just learning about you, Fahad, of course, and knowing about you, Shahzad. You both definitely are rather a testament of people working hard for so many years and then achieving something. He's now the #1 host in the country. Imagine that. I mean, of course, I'm privileged to be working with you.
Even I am.
Thank you so much. All right, now Fahad, I was reading some of the pointers that we were discussing earlier, and you very, I mean, it was interesting for me to see that you're, rather than giving out tips to people, ki, you know, itne paise leke aao ye business shuru karne ye karo, you were telling them about a mindset, you were telling them about failures, how to get over failures and everything, which is probably something everyone requires over here. More than 50% of the startups would go down in 6 months or a year over here. It's a stat, all right. We don't know the reasons. So what is it that you would want Pakistani entrepreneurs to unlearn and relearn?
So there's a lot of things. A lot of people, I've spent a lot of time with youth, so a lot of people under the age of 30. And being in universities, talking to them, seeing their pitch ideas, we've been to places where they bring their business ideas. Its first thing is they are not very well trained. They don't understand what really entrepreneurship is. They don't have really exposure. Look at the how our country operates. Okay. Once you graduate, you're what, 21, 22, 23?
Yes. Yeah.
That's when you get into the real job. If you look at the same thing, somebody in the other countries, like Canada, for example, I'll use my example. I've been selling since the age of 16. So at least I understand what sales is, what the cash flow is.
You have the leverage of 5 years.
I understand the work ethics. At least in my career, probably worst case scenario, I probably made $50,000 in 5 years, even if I'm making minimum wage for part-time. But you have that exposure of dealing with customers. Right. What happens here is suddenly we're about to graduate in your final year, you get the project, built a business, and then you come to the real world, which is not the same thing, which is a theory, and you fail, and you have no idea where to go.
So what you're trying to say over here is that, you know, if you are a fresh graduate, or in other terms, you know, in a little bit of slang, if you're a freshie, ladies and gentlemen, all you need to do is you really need to have your hands at experience or on experience, and then eventually start doing your own businesses, which is wonderful. But now for a person like you, you know, who happens to be an entrepreneur and a motivation speaker, what I see is that, you know, every time people will kind of be in touch with you, the first thing and the last thing people are more interested to know is how to actually have a business so that they can sustain, you know, they can have a family, they can live a wonderful life, which is great. Now imagine for somebody as smart and as brilliant as you, that who's actually working, you know, at a very tender and young age, sorry for saying tender, that you're working for top 500 Fortune companies as well. I think what I need to ask you is that every time you tell somebody or you share an idea with somebody, as an entrepreneur, you know, even me, myself, you know, if I give somebody a brilliant idea, I think of adopting to that idea myself. How do you refrain from doing that? Because every now and then there will be a lot of people coming to you, you know, Fahad bhai, what do you think we should do? Oh yeah, you know what, invest in crypto, invest in stocks, invest in property over here. Why wouldn't you do that yourself?
Okay, so there's different, we are expert in certain niches, right? So if I love marketing or if I love real estate or immigration, we need to identify what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
I'm in a phase in my career where I can be an entrepreneur and invest into somebody. If I lose up and down, I can afford.
Right.
But if you're young, I wouldn't suggest to do that because your cash flow is very limited.
Yeah.
So example I'll use is Warren Buffett, one of the most richest person in the world. People ask him, what's your secret for being so successful in investments? He says 99.9% of the times I say no. Everything which is shining, I'm not going to jump into, and he's the best investor in the world. He made billions of dollars for himself, right?
Exactly.
So we sometimes, everything which looks good, we don't
I
have to
think we've
invest.
just been saying no to 100% of the things.
In my case.
We're still here, yes.
But yes, carry on.
It's not always the idea which is going to make the money. Yesterday I was in a university talking to a lot of students, very smart group of people, and the whole goal was to get them into an entrepreneurship mindset. And I told them, I'm like, you know what? It's not only going to be the idea which is going to make the money. If I'm investing on a person and a team.
Yeah.
Are you really hardworking? Why people fail, you asked earlier. There's one very amazing TED Talk. It talks about grit, G-R-I-T, grit factor. Yeah. How much grit do we have? We give up way too early. If people are looking at you or me, they say, okay, he's the #1 anchor in Pakistan. They're just looking at your, the success.
The stats.
The stats, the final, oh my God, he made it. But they don't know it's the journey of 10 years. Yeah. What we are doing is we are actually overestimating what we can do in a year. We say we're going to conquer the world, we're going to be a top entrepreneur.
Shortcuts, right?
We're going to press the button, we're going to create an app, we're going to make $1 million. No, but they are underestimating what they can do in a decade. So you are the result of a decade.
I have a wonderful example to share for our audiences as well, and that is that when I actually won the VJ Hunt back in 2009, that was the time when I thought that, okay, you know, my billboards are going to be all over the place. You know, everybody's going to recognize me no matter where I'm going to go. You know, everybody would be like, hey, you know what, that's Shazad. And that certainly didn't happen. It took me 13 to 14 years to kind of reach to this point. Well, it wasn't obviously me. It was, you know, Allah's blessings, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, my prayers as well. But to be very honest, this is something which I'm 100% going to agree to, that we certainly think that, okay, you know, this idea is going to be out there, and then all of a sudden we're going to be millionaires and billionaires. But that idea to be out there, ladies and gentlemen, it will have a cycle, an entire life cycle to kind of push. Somewhere you'll have to push, somewhere you'll have to invest, somewhere you'll have to pull, somewhere you'll have to have a newer product, somewhere you'll have to have a newer niche, and then be like, okay, you know, that's when you're going to bring it to a point where it's going to be sustainable. So I think, please, ladies and gentlemen who are thinking overnight success does occur, but it occurs to only 0.01% of the people all over the world.
Or on crypto.
So please make sure that you do not count yourself in that 0.01% of the global population.
Yeah, and also just know that it's short-lived. I mean, you know, Shahzad, I feel like people are lately so crazy about overnight success because of social media as well, because it's happening to some people, right?
Yeah.
You put out a video on TikTok, the next morning you are a global sensation, but that's only for a week or two, isn't it?
Yeah,
but that I guess people have that idea of easy success now. Success is never easy. Coming back to where you said that you learned through your internships, or rather early jobs even for that matter, dealing with clients. Your communication, you developed it through that. And I feel like client relationship is definitely a major part of any business. Here's a small story. I'm going to try to make it small.
Sure, go ahead.
So there's a females group on Facebook where I feel like every Pakistani female is. And I love a similar name. I'm not going to name it. I absolutely love the fact that in this pandemic, Shahzad, a lot of girls even that I know who didn't even have completed their degrees started something online as a business. And I'm so utterly proud of them. But just starting something online, well, I feel like training is definitely required. I'm going towards where a lot of people then coming up on the same group, posting screenshots of the businesses saying they didn't deal right with me, they didn't give my product on time, my money, my this, my that, blah, blah, blah. So client relations, I don't think people understand that, but they just want to make a business. Where do you think they're lacking?
Quality and the service is the most important thing. And even with my clients, let's say if I'm doing a digital marketing services, and a lot of all the clients are from US, Canada, or Europe, right? One thing I've done is, which is very risky, I wouldn't recommend a lot of people unless you can afford it. We have worked on projects where I said, this is what we're gonna deliver. This communication is gonna be bang on. And if I don't deliver, we give you a money back guarantee. Pretty much, you don't have to pay us. And a lot of people, I'm using very similar model in my speaking in Pakistan. If it's a paid workshop, if I don't give you a value, I'm going to refund your money. People say, Fahad bhai, people will eat you in Pakistan. I'm like, how much are they going to eat? One thing I'll do is, we know what we are building, because once they say you didn't add a value, we'll just blacklist them. It's a privilege to be here. And otherwise, tomorrow you want to come back and learn again, I'll just say, sorry, we didn't add a value, right?
Yeah. So you know, I certainly want to come back to this because we have a few examples over here within our own community and society. So I'll come back to where it's about value addition, because I think that you need to have this ability to interpret that value for your betterment and to create an opportunity. So before we come back to that, we actually have a visually very enriched report to kind of share what entrepreneurship or international entrepreneurship looks like as well. So please go ahead, take a look and have a brief understanding of what it is, and then we'll come back to the point where how you need to have this ability of interpreting that value for your better use as well. Let's go, let's take a look. Good morning.
Pakistan, home to about 200 million people, is one of the fastest growing economies in Asia. As the country continues to develop, an additional 2.1 million middle-income households are expected to be established by 2025. Consequently, startup activity has surged as business emerged to satisfy unmet demand across the country. The government has taken the lead by building national and provisional incubators, introducing a 3-year tax relief and creating regulations to allow local venture capital firms and investors to set up shop in the country. Entrepreneurship in Pakistan is already on the rise, reflecting a broader global trend and increased digital consumption within the country. Since 2010, 720 startup has been established, with hundreds successfully raising funding. Some of the biggest funding deals in Pakistan have been taken place in the recent year, highlighting the vast opportunities for local startups and increased investor focus on the country that is still yet to produce its first high valuation startup. Pakistan has elements that suggest that it is ready for the liftoff, but significant changes are required from both the government and the private sector, such as simplify procedure for doing business to encourage formalization, invest in enabling infrastructure, manage performance with patient and pragmatic growth mindset. While the government can create a facilitating environment for startup to flourish, the private sector should be looking to create the value through funding the next big disruption. Collectively, they can cultivate the right talent to unleash a digital revolution in the
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so it was for a better understanding of people out there as well, that how these processes work. And let me be very honest over here, because 0.5% of the global population might have some genuine ideas like Uber, or probably, you know, if any newer tech innovations are out there, I think it is because of the fact that only 0.5%, this is something which research says, and a very detailed, in-depth research says. What they say is that, you know, all of these amazing people, maybe Jeff Bezos, maybe Steve Jobs, maybe Elon Musk, you know, what they say is that all for us to do is that we only have to replicate the entire business cycle. And what we do is, where we go wrong is that since our research is not in depth, so we miss out on 1 or 2 steps which are the most crucial, and people certainly do not want to let them be out there in the open as well. For example, the recipe of, you know, this amazing fizzy drink, which everybody drinks as well, it's still a secret, you know. So there are some trade secrets which needs to be there, but if in case you are replicating a business, that too in your region, it needs to be according to the needs of the people, and that's where the research goes as well. Now coming down to the point where you said that, you know, you actually have this amazing offer to make, and that is that you give money back guarantee if people think that there was no value addition. We're not getting into the conversation whether, you know, people are being honest or not, but what I want to do over here is that since you have given that opportunity to people, there are a lot of people who will come back and be like, hey, you know what, so they will never say that it was our inability to capitalize on that value addition, but rather they would be like, sir, you know what, this wasn't something new, we're already doing it, or we cannot do it. So why do you think that you want to put your stakes, that too, at risk, just because of the fact that somebody was incapable of doing that?
So in business, I always say you have to create an irresistible offer.
Yeah.
What is that offer which is like a juicy offer which people can't say no?
Paise wapas le lena.
One thing is paise, and the other is the time, right? International market, the clients I work with, we are not in desperate need of them. We pick and choose.
Yeah.
It's a very good position to be at, where we want to work with certain people, and by the time we're going to bring somebody on board, we have enough research and information on them.
Yeah.
Are they the freeloaders? Are they actually the ones who wants that? And the ticket item is not $500. We're talking in thousands, right? So we know, we've done enough research on the individuals, and we know our team, are they capable of delivering? That's the marketing side. Now the training side, which is my youth empowerment, which I'm working in Pakistan, that's my passion, that's my mission, to inspire millions of youth here. So once they become unstoppable or successful, maybe we'll hire 1 or 2 of them in part of our teams, right? So
I think that's wonderful. But, you know, since you said that, you know, you're doing a lot of collaborations with youngsters over here as well, you want the people to kind of learn from you. But I've seen that, you know, people over here within our country, and I'm not really very sorry to say that, but what we do is that seeing is believing. And, you know, I don't think that anybody's wrong with that as well. So every time you're going to even get off your friend's very expensive car and pretend as if it's yours, people will start to draw inspiration all of a sudden. Or may it be the way you're dressed up. You know, this is how things are. You go on Instagram, you go on Facebook. You know, there's this amazing quack story going all over the internet as well. The secret son-in-law. You know, have you seen that?
What?
Yeah, the secret son-in-law said the family never is kind of good to him as well. But the secret son-in-law actually had 900 cars and all of that and all of that, and all of a sudden he showed up. And then everybody was like in and awe of that as well. So the right mechanism to inspire people, what is that? That's something which I believe is important.
Yeah, and make this your closing note as well, so we can wrap up the segment. Okay?
So one thing I want to always say is, for people, anything business, you want to achieve more in life, we have to change our state. Like how we are. Energy level is very low. Most of the speakings or universities or any gathering we're sitting like this. When I'm doing my things, even it's business, doesn't matter I've lost $1.2 million in a day, it have happened. You change your state. State is based on how our physiology is, how our focus is, and the language we use.
Exactly.
Language is I can or I can't do it, and focus is whatever we believe in, right? If we're going to start focusing on fear, we're going to start feeling fearful. And if you're going to focus on abundance, we're going to have that emotion, and we're going to go and make a better decision out there.
Well, that's wonderful. And
Brilliant.
if you just add a little bit of, or a tinge of gratitude to it, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's going to do wonders for everybody as well. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Fahad, for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a lot to learn from this segment, and I really hope my lovely, lovely audiences did actually pick up on something as well. Because Shazad, we love talking about creating a conducive environment for businesses to actually grow, flourish, and then sustain in Pakistan, especially ever since PTI came into being. But I think these kind of practical tips and the ones that people have actually practiced in real life is something we need to give out more often. So we'll do this again, right?
Yep, sure.
On this note, we're headed out to a short break. When we come back, I think I'm going to discuss the weather situation that we were earlier in the show as well.
Yeah, things become a little hazy and foggy and smoky, ladies and gentlemen, lately, and it is very dangerous for people to kind of travel, that too at night. So we want everybody to be safe out there. And on those lines, we actually have a wonderful guest to speak about the condition prevailing as of now, and for how long is it going to persist, and whether is it still dangerous to travel at night or not. Let's do this after a short break.
Good morning. Stay tuned.
Pakistan ready to give chances to their new faces. Imad Wasim, Hassan Ali and Shoaib Malik rested. Opportunity for the raw and untested. Time to take on Windies in town. Without the star cast, they still have exciting players. Nicholas Purin, Justin Greaves, Shamra Brooks, Gudakesh Moti and Odin Smith earned their maiden call-ups, while Dominic Drakes will be there in T20 internationals. Pakistan versus West Indies 2021-22, 3 T20 internationals, 3 one-day internationals, December 13, 2021 until December 22nd, 2021. Live and exclusive on PTV Sports.
All right, people, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PTV World, you're watching What This Morning alongside Shazad Hashmi and Shazad Hassan Khan. I think we were talking about international entrepreneurship, but all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, we really need to focus on some local issues. And when we talk about local issues, there's a lot of fog, smoke, and air pollution going on in the country. So we wanted to kind of raise awareness about that as well, and how things can get better and how we can contribute individually.
Absolutely. So let's start it without any further ado. We have one of our environmentalists over here, the expert that we call almost every other week just to learn about what's happening in the country, because she's so apt and articulate. Ladies and gentlemen, she happens to be Mariam Shabir. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back.
Walaikum salam. Thank you.
To begin with, sorry, Shazad.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, right. So we've been hearing, of course, and a lot of people have been sharing on the social media as well about a winter spell and how suddenly in the coming week temperatures might even drop below zero. First of all, is it going to happen? Secondly, if it does happen, what do we do? Other than taking out rasaiyan, of course.
Yeah, I think for climate, this temperature change and weather change, I think meteorology would be the most updated one, and we should follow their Twitter accounts and websites to see what will happen. But you see, this time and previous year as well, there were delayed winters, prolonged summer, and this is because of course, climate change and emissions. We and other countries contribute towards it. Let's see what meteorology department has to tell about it. But I think when I was coming to your studio this morning, it was very cold. So one can sense that it is going to drop.
Right.
In coming
so
days.
according to the meteorology department, ladies and gentlemen, just last night, I think there was this news all over the television channels as well. It has started to snowfall in Kashmir, and then eventually, obviously, it is going to transcend to the lower hilly areas and mountainous areas as well. But other than that, they said that the cold winds are blowing in Quetta, so which is why obviously the people of Karachi are going to feel that winter feel as well. And they said that the temperatures are going to go down at least from 10 degrees centigrade lower on the lower side as well, which means that it's going to get colder. So that's fine. But we want to speak about the air pollution because other than fog is still something which we can kind of curtail. But I think smog is something that we certainly haven't found a solution to. And just a few days ago, we actually did play a video from the Twitter. I think it was Mr. Asaduma who actually shared how the cars actually started to pile up just because of the smog as well, which is injurious for a lot of people, for the safety of the people as well. So how do you think that smoke can be curtailed, even though that the Punjab government did announce that, that the schools are going to be off 3 days? Which I don't know how they came up with this idea that Saturday, Sunday and Monday will be off. So 3 days would have been like, so 3 days would have been like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but they're like Saturday, Sunday and Monday. So Sunday you're already off, Saturday you're already off, so Monday, okay, so it's 3 days. Do you think that such initiatives will actually help curtail the issue of smoke? Because I don't think that that's something which will help us. Or do we, and then there were news coming in, I'm sorry for a longer question, that students of the Punjab University will actually experiment to have that I don't know, that rain system which is going to bring in that I don't know, artificial rain, and then they're going to curtail the issue of smoke. Can that happen?
Regarding a solution of the Punjab government, about shutting down the schools, I think there is no short-term measure to the smog issue and air pollution, because they could have done and planned better when the year started, because it is predicted from past many years that this is going to happen in this season. I'm talking about smog, of course. So if you're shutting down schools for 3 days, how you make sure that those kids won't come out in the cars for going to park? They will come out, because during lockdowns we have seen that due to COVID people were coming out and enjoying all that. But when it comes to taking measures, you rightly mentioned this transport sector. This is the biggest contributor to smog issue in Pakistan, and I think it's very important to address this issue, and you can address by providing clean fuel. And another issue which is another solution which is very important is, of course, public transportation. And by public transportation I mean projects like Orange Line, Green Line, Metro, such projects. These can be expanded into whole city of Lahore, whole Punjab, whole Pakistan, not even in cities but also in towns. The smog issue is particularly in cities, you would see, because of urbanization, because a lot of population, and due to a lot of population, cars are used, and bad engines which emit contribute to the air pollution, they does, and after that industry comes, and industry also contributes to that, that of course.
But you know what, I feel very sad and then sorry at the same time for all of those people who invested so much money into the industry, because imagine earlier, I think if we go 2 regimes back, so there was no electricity to run any industry, so the industry was shut down. People were taking their industry to other countries as well. Now eventually that we've actually surplus electricity within the country, so what unfortunately the industrialists still cannot do anything. So where do you think that they're going to go? And obviously the smarter solutions should have been brought in by the governments themselves as well. Now if you go abroad, there's this very category of Euro 5 and Euro 6 engine clearances as well, where if you're not cleared to have that certain amount of it goes by that that the emission level needs to be lower than this, so that they have a parameter. So, and then they're going to give you a sticker of Euro 5, Euro 6 or whatever is going on, and only then your car is going to be roadworthy. Imagine over here just in Islamabad, you just pass by Magla Road or anywhere else, you will see at least 6 or 7 cars outside each and every household. So, I mean, there might only be 2 or 3 people, but they will have 6 to 7 cars as well, and there's nobody looking after the engines and the emissions as well. What can we do? I mean, the traffic police would be out there to see, sir, aapki sheeshe kal hai, sir, aapki number plate theek nahi. Oh, bhai, dhuan bhi to dekh lo, gaadi koi maar rahi hai ki nahi maar rahi. I think that's what they really need to do. Why aren't we doing that?
I think, you were talking about industry, industrialists have huge money. I think government, what can do is that they can do policy intervention and they can implement laws when they are not compliance against, these national environmental quality standards that are in place. Those standards are, against each pollutant. And when you cross that threshold limit, industries should be fined by the state and by the relevant department. When I say relevant, it's environmental protection agencies in Punjab, we have in Islamabad as well, and in other areas as well. So, the responsibility lies on industries because they are the emitter after transport sector, and they should come up with the smartest solutions. And I think government should give them a specific timeline that this is the timeline, and you should bring in technology which would reduce your emissions and clean the emissions, make it less toxic before going into the environment. And then, if they don't meet that deadline and they do not introduce that technology, then government should impose heavy fines on them, and they can do it. They are not doing it because state is not asking them to do it.
I like it how you have this willingness for the government to kind of do it as soon as possible, and I think it's important. Imagine that a lot of people now, just by living in Lahore, are getting ill and sick, and they have ENT issues, multiple ENT issues as well. And when we say ENT, for a lot of people who might not know, it's the ear, nose and throat, ladies and gentlemen. So just by inhaling that air, it's like they're saying that you're smoking 3 cigarettes a day. That's 8 cigarettes a day.
Imagine, it really makes me think about the babies and kids out there. I mean, it's really, really sad for them, of course. But Mariam, I want you to highlight that, of course, with all of these weather changes coming up, there are a lot of diseases rising up as well. And because every time there's something new happening with the weather, our body or the immune system is not prepared to deal with it. What should we be expecting in the coming season, and how to go about it?
I think Shehzad was just mentioning about Lahore and its air, but let me tell you that air quality in Islamabad which is, thought that Islamabad is green and
what, we'll be offended, we love Islamabad.
I also do. I live in this city, but if you look at Magala Hills, when you will step out of this studio, you will see that, there is haze and there is smog. You can't see Magala Hills clearly, and there is smog, and that is crossing the threshold limit from past many days and months, I would say, because rain was not happening, because nature has to settle those pollutants because we don't have any other solution. But talking about health issues, of course, due to this bad air quality and pollutants, life expectancy reduces up to 5 years in Pakistan. A kid born today would have 5 years less life in the future. So when you were talking about just ENT issues, this flu, cough, you get bronchitis issues, that small particulate matter, that can't be seen with naked eyes, and when you breathe and inhale that air, it goes down into your lungs and it penetrates into your lungs, and when you have prolonged exposure to that, long-term exposure to that air, it gradually affects your breathing system, and you have issues, breathing issues, you develop cancers in later stages, kids get affected because of that, and their growth is affected, and there are a lot of issues. And apart from health issues, it does have impact on your economy as well, and let me tell you how. Your flights get delayed because of visibility issues due to smog, and on motorways you get to see and hear a lot of accidents due to visibility issues, loss of lives, and things like that happen as well.
And of course, when the health of a person is compromised, the economic burden on the national exchequer is going to be there. We're not necessarily focusing on the economic burden, but it is a factor that is definitely followed by bad health as well. But thank you so much, Mariam, for being so informative again and helping us out in sort of understanding what this season is going to bring. One thing I absolutely love the fact that where you said that the government has to sort of give them a deadline for all the industrialists out there. It's a very small idea, and you know, we always say how we're overly legislated, so the laws are definitely there. I loved how a few years back Islamabad, Rawalpindi was not supposed to use plastic shopping bags, and then it did happen. And now, I mean,
we're back to being
we're back to being us again.
Yeah.
So I feel like the government will definitely give out some rules and regulations. But it really depends on you as an individual, as a responsible citizen of the country, to think about the people around you. It's definitely not going to impact you firsthand, but it is going to impact the people around you. So please, please think twice, because before sort of, you know, doing any such practices. And I also want to say, in terms of, you know, keeping your engines on and whatnot, I don't even like the idea of drive-in concerts or theaters for that matter, but there must be a mechanism for that, right?
Yeah, obviously, because you're certainly not supposed to make sure
keep the car on,
that,
of course.
that your car is on, because it's already winters and you can just stay inside. But yes, obviously, you know, when we're talking about how you know, us are going to kind of progress in totality, I think everybody needs to consider and take this criticism positively, so that we can come up with better and smarter solutions. But yes, for I think you know, the points being taken as well, that we certainly do not need to have the engines running. We certainly need to have the industry kind of focused on how to kind of move on towards renewable energy usages as well. And a lot of people are doing these, solar panels are coming in. There are a lot of alternates as well. You know, we have a road made out of plastic over here at the Atatürk Avenue as well. So I think all of these things are initiatives to have a better understanding of how the world is going to be a healthier place for our future generations to live. Everybody needs to put their mind to that. So please make sure that you do that every single day and play your role as an individual to make this country a better place to live.
Absolutely. On this note, we are definitely signing off. We will be joining you tomorrow at the same time with very interesting topics and very important and pertinent ones as well. So you have to really stay tuned tomorrow morning to find out that. Of course, you can write to us your questions, feedback, suggestions, everything on our social media pages with the name of
World This Morning.
And the repeat of this show you will be able to catch at
5 past midnight. Till the next time, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.
Take care.